Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So of course Hellhades is away. This is going to be the week where all the news drops. So I'm back again with some news, and this one is specifically on the next logging champion. So the daily logging rewards. If you've been playing the game like me for a significant period of time, you will be close to getting the final fragments for the Lady Arix Epic Champion, which will probably go straight into your vault at this point if you've been playing for this long. But after this, we need a new champion, and they have been doing Epic, Legendary, and generally the Epics are 2 months, the Legendaries are 4 months. That's the pattern we've gotten to. So I did, in my patch notes video, give a little bit of a hint as to the champion that we are getting, the next login, and now we actually have full information about what the champion does and the kit that it is involved with. So let's take a look and see what the new login champion is going to be about. So we have a new Knight Revenant HP based magic affinity champion called Arix. I'm going to read what Playroom tell you about this champion, and then we're going to take a look at the skills and actually have a look whether or not this champion is any good. Hey y'all, I don't know why we went all Midwestern there. Here are some details about a brand new champion that will be added to the daily login rewards lineup and replace Lady Arix. Arix is a legendary HP champion of Magic Affinity from the Knight Revenant Faction. I don't really know why we have to have more Knight Revenants. I will add that. There are other factions we could have at the moment, but, you know, it looks like a Knight Rev. It looks pretty badass, and we're going to take a look more in detail in a second. Thanks to Arix's skill set, that she will be useful both in PvE and PvP content. Okay. This champion's expertise is to deal a great amount of damage. Well, it's HP based, so not a lot of damage, while saving and supporting your team. With the help of A1, Arix attacks all enemies and removes one random buff from each enemy. The A2 is an AoE attack. It gives Arix a chance to place a stun on enemies. She will transfer a random debuff from herself to enemies who received a stun from this skill. With A3, she places ally protection on all allies for herself and gives herself a counterattack buff. Now, before I go any further and look at the passive, you've just told me, Playroom, that this is a damage dealer. Yeah, I need to remove buffs, I need to place stun, and I'm now protecting my team. And I'm HP based. So this champion is not a damage dealer because you need to have accuracy. You're giving me effects which don't actually contribute to my own damage. Actually, almost contrary, you want me to protect my team. So it doesn't really quite make sense. Anyway, on the passive, Arix's passive allows her to boost her turn meter each time an ally inflicts a critical hit, and heal herself each time an enemy inflicts a critical hit. Arix will appear in the game tomorrow, and the players will be able to see the fragments of this champion in the daily login rewards lineup starting July 30th. You saw mine, I was almost near completion of my cycle. Some people are a little bit further ahead. Please note, just like other daily login champions, you won't be able to summon Arix from Sacred Shards. Okay, so that's what Playroom say. Let's take a look at the actual kit here and see if this champion is worth anything or any decency. Attacks, so the A1 is an AoE A1, cool. The only thing being, as an A1 AoE with HP base, the damage is probably going to be really low because there isn't really a high damage A1 AoE champion that I can think of in this game. It's just too they just put the damage index way too low because it's the default skill. Makes sense. Attacks all enemies, has a 25% chance of removing one random buff from each target. Well, immediately that disqualifies PvP. It might be annoying, but it's not high enough of a chance. Unless you're going to double that chance, it's really not high enough to warrant any sort of usage as a PvP mechanic because it's so conditional. Especially when you've got champions like Ceres, like Kaimar, like Solus, why would you take a 25% chance? The A2, another AoE. So we've got double AoE, which is quite cool for PvE content, definitely. Attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for one turn, transfers a random debuff from this champion to targets that receive stun debuffs from this skill. So if it's 50% chance, that's probably going to go up to 75% chance. I can't imagine that's going to be 50% chance in books. That's not as good as someone like Ragash, Astralon, even Basilius Roanus. There are champions that do this 100%, and transferring a random debuff from himself is not that powerful, I would argue. But it is another AoE, so stun set's pretty good. So then on the A3, we've got Warped Guidance, places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies, except this champion. Okay, pretty standard. Also places a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. How do you play this champion? You put your A3 up. Great, cool. We've got ally protection. Anyone who hits me, gonna do counterattack. I counterattack and I have a chance to remove the 1 buff. That's quite cool. Could be useful in some Doom Tower mechanics. It depends on how much you can book up that A1. But, you know, it's got some play. I wouldn't say that's necessarily pretty good in Arena. It's annoying, but I wouldn't have said it makes much of a difference. You either avoid attacking Arix or you just basically buff, remove, and block buffs. So, who knows? In terms of the passive fills this champion's turn meter by 5% each time an ally inflicts a critical hit. So that's not too much of a problem for something like a clan boss, as long as everyone in your team is going to critically hit. Now, obviously, if that goes to infinity, that'll break your speed tune. You could use this champion as an ally protector, but you would obviously, you know, you need to factor in that passive. Heals this champion by 5% of their max HP each time an enemy inflicts a critical hit. Okay, cool. So overall, the champion's a bit meh, which is what we kind of get with login champions that have been created for the purpose. You know, Girder Bogbrew was kind of like this weird kit where it was like you had to disable half the kit so you could get the other half decent, you know, removes 1 debuff, I think it was. It was an average, decent legendary, but it wasn't going to break any meta for players who've been playing for 2.5 years. And I feel like this champion is kind of a little bit better, but on a similar trend. You know, you can do, there's probably some cool things you could do in PvE. It's an ally protector with counterattack, AoE stun, AoE remove buffs if you're up against a wave that is really nasty. I'm pretty sure there's like a HP secret room. I think it might be force HP, I'm not too sure, but potentially that could be really useful for that secret room just to, you know, keep cycling through. Being HP based, the damage is not going to be high. I can tell you straight away the damage is not going to be high without even looking at the data, because I know how they code HP based champions. Magnar and Vasolf only deal so much damage because they have that conditional extra hit, which means they assume you're not going to get that extra hit. Therefore, the damage is effectively doubled. Unless you're one of those champions, like, you know, Mountain King obviously is a bit of an exception, but he's all single target based. If it's an AoE champion on HP based, unless it has a conditional extra hit, it is not going to do enough damage. So the concept of this champion being a damage dealer is out the window, but it could be an annoying champion in an arena defense. You know, if you get that protected, if you run it in like a protection set, maybe you get that counterattack protected. It could really frustrate people because every time you AoE, you steal a buff, but then you might also want it in a stun set and then just run the risk that the counterattack kind of doesn't go off. So you could run it with a Valkyrie. There's options there, so I think it's not completely useless. The fact it doesn't 100% stun is a bit disappointing. So that is Arix, the new daily login reward champion. That champion will be in the game tomorrow, so you could easily pull that champion from a shard tomorrow, from an ancient shard if you get it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, whether you think this champion is good or not. Do you have any ideas that I haven't thought about? It'd be great to hear from the community. If there's more news coming out this week, which, let's face it, we're probably going to have news about the fusion because Hellhades is away, I will, of course, jump in and give that information to you straight into your feed. If you've liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in the next video.